So this happened around a year ago. I was living in a large city in the UK, around a mile from the center. Although the area I lived in was nice, the city itself had a lot of crime. I had just finished my university class and was waiting at the bus stop, and I'm helping a woman locate her bus on the timetable, and as I'm helping her, my bus pulls up and drives away. Great. A man must have seen the whole thing happen because he comes over to me and says something along the lines of, "Tough luck, that's annoying." And I reply, "Yeah, typical." Trying to be polite to him, shortly after the next bus comes along, I get on, and so does the man I was just talking to, which I found weird as he could have got the earlier bus I missed. Whatever, I don't really think much of it, and I put my earphones in and continue on the 20-minute journey home. I get off the bus at my normal stop and I'm walking along when suddenly I feel someone grab my shoulder. I flinch and instantly push the hand away. I look behind me and it's the man from before. I take my headphones out and he says, "Hey, beautiful, you got a man?" My defenses immediately go up, as I'm sure any girl living in a city will understand. I start walking and he follows me. I'm pretty bewildered at this point. I have experienced creepers before, but not someone physically grabbing me. "Nah, you're just saying that. I can tell you're lying. Come on, beautiful. Can I have your number?" "No, I have a boyfriend." I actually wasn't lying. I did have a boyfriend, he continues asking over and over again, getting angrier and angrier at me. "No, sorry." At this point I start walking really fast, also jogging. He's still following me. It's about a 5-minute walk to my flat, and he followed me the whole way back. I honestly think at this point I'm going to get attacked or stabbed. I don't know what. I've never been in this situation before, probably due to the fact I'm 5'11", even though I only weigh 130 pounds. I've been told I look intimidating due to my height. So I get back to my flat and he's followed me all the way to the doors. Luckily, I get in and shut the doors just before he goes up to my flat. Around 30 minutes later, I go out to my balcony and look down and he's still there. I contemplate calling the police, but instead call my concierge, and they go out, and I can hear them threatening to call the police if he doesn't leave. Thankfully, he does. I spend the rest of my months living there worried he was going to show up, and luckily he did not. My stomach turned recently. I heard on the news that not 5 minutes from where I used to live, and this all took place, a girl was walking home late at night and she got assaulted. She flagged a car down for help and got assaulted again by a different guy. I can't imagine the horror this poor girl went through. Honestly, look into getting self-defense classes or something, especially if you live in a city. I'd really love to have karate chopped the guy in the dick, but seriously, I was lucky. It could have ended a lot worse. I have no idea what this guy's intentions were. If he just wanted my number or had something more sinister in mind. Be wary with who you speak. I find with men harassing women in the street, if you completely ignore them, more often than not they will stop. If they don't, or they are getting physical, a loud noise will startle them so you can run away. Also, don't feel like you have to answer to a person who is talking to you just to be polite in a situation like this. You don't owe them politeness. Your safety is more important. I used to deliver packages in the mail for a company in the South. A lot of the daily routes were in the hills and woods. Last year, I had a route that was super deep country. I was used to back roads in the country. Now, at this job, by this point, there's some houses I stop at where the driveway is super steep or some other shit. But for the most part, everyone was always super friendly out there, country folk. Well, I had a delivery that was going to this long gravel street. There was only a few houses on my journey to the house that my delivery was. Still, at this point, I'm totally fine There's a ton of these types of roads out here. Well, I arrive at my destination. No mailbox, no driveway, no gravel. You can make out a little bit of a path that has been made from cars driving to the house. The driveway is maybe 250 yards long, with the house at the end of it. I'm only sketched out because I'm in the woods and land is super unpredictable back here, meaning you never know when there's just a drop-off. I'm in a huge box truck, so if one tire was to slip off the side, the whole thing is going down. So I'm driving literally less than a mile an hour, taking my time, being extremely cautious. I walk up to the front door of this cabin thing, and the front door had a large glass window on it. Not modern, think old, like a cabin that was built in the late 50s and no repairs. As I sit the small package down in front of the door, I glance inside the house. The main room, which would be like the living room, I'm guessing, is completely empty. The only thing that is in this room is two foldable metal chairs, both facing the corner of the room, but nothing is in the corner. In the meantime, I'm trying to do my job with my right hand, where I keep making very quick glances inside. From what I saw, there was nothing in that house. It was a shell. The kitchen may have had old appliances in it, but I wasn't really paying attention to that part. Fuck the driveway. I back out of this driveway while checking my surroundings everywhere and make it back onto the road. As I'm driving down the road, maybe 40 feet away from this dude's entrance of the driveway, there's a trash bag in the middle of the street. It's open just a little bit. I slow down and it looks like there's a woman's sweater or something in there. Was that a kill room? Was someone or multiple people held hostage on that property? Something was up. Immediately I contacted my buddy and told him about it. He suggested I go back and snap a few pictures. I agreed. About 5 minutes go by and I make it back to the address and the trash bag is completely gone. I looked everywhere on the street and the side of the street. Completely gone. But get this, I always thought about how I never know what I'm delivering or who I am delivering to. When I first landed this job, I remember thinking how crazy it would be if someone was holding people hostage in their house, torturing them, and ordered their food and house supplies online because they were afraid of leaving the house with the kidnapped people alone. That's all I could think about when dropping off this package. I left that job not even a week later for different reasons, but I did tell my boss and he assured me that he could contact the local police department and take the house off our normal route schedule. I never heard anything back about it. I'm aware that if the police went out there and found something or people, I would immediately be called in to tell them what I saw. So I'm going to assume that they went out to check it out and found nothing. But in the same sense, it makes me wonder about the trash bag immediately disappearing after I left. Did they realize that they messed up and I was going to say something, so they prepared for that? I don't know. I also have no clue what the address was or how to get there by memory to check it out myself. But I think about that very often, and every single time I do, I get chills down my spine just because of the thought of the unknown. I'm in my late 20s and female. We were there for about 2 weeks while my mom underwent treatment for cancer. Unfortunately, soon after arriving, she experienced a lot of pain in her leg, and we later found out that the cancer had spread there and her leg could break off at any wrong step. This meant that if I was going to see anything, I had to go alone. This was fine, as the town we were in was extremely small and filled mostly with the old and sick. There was a larger town only about a mile away, up and over a fairly steep hill, and a large park in between. It was about noon, and my mom wasn't going to need me to be around, so I decided to go for a walk around the park. To get there, I just had to walk down the path, cross a street lined with inns and cafes on a side leading to the park. There's a lot of twisting paths crisscrossing each other, a lot of benches, a couple of fountains, and 1 or 2 community buildings. I chose a path that would take me right beside an underground fountain about as deep as my shoulders, with steps leading down to the spout. It was there I first saw him. I was headed almost directly toward the fountain when a man's head pops up. Looking directly at me, I looked back at him for a second, thinking I had surprised him just as much. I was the only one who looked away. When I looked back, I realized he was still watching me. And then I noticed he had one arm crossed over his chest and moving, as though he was touching himself. As soon as I realized this, I looked away and changed my direction to give him a wide berth. I was soon stunned in disbelief that I convinced myself that whatever he was doing had nothing to do with me, and that as long as I kept walking, he'd go back to being weird all by himself. I turned down a path that for the immediate area was wide open. I was still close to the cafes and inns, and the occasional other person also taking a midway walk. I was almost to an area that would take the path through patches of woods, which would also take me out of the public eye when I looked back to see if this guy was still in the fountain, but he was gone. Surprised, I quickly did a circle and noticed he had taken off, doing a wide loop that left a lot of opportunity for us to cross paths again. If I didn't change directions once again, I couldn't believe it. I thought it's the middle of the day. We're in a quiet town, about a mile away from a larger one. There's no one here but old and sick people. There's no way a predator would be out here, now hunting me. But still I stopped and decided to change directions again. This time my dumbass decided to take a tiny path that would lead me to the base of the hill that would go over to the larger town and was heavily wooded. I get up there to where the tree started and decide to look again, and that's when I noticed that he had also changed his direction and was practically jogging away from me. I got to where I was a safe distance away and pulled out my phone and started recording myself. I figured I would just look like I was a video chatting with someone. This is when I was shown without a doubt that this guy was after me, because not long after I made it across the park, he comes down the very same path, looking side to side, looking for me, eventually spots me. I had very bright dyed red hair and I was pretty easy to spot in such a wide open area. It's at this distance of the town, should this guy book it back towards me, that I kept wandering around testing to see how far this guy will go. He keeps following me, trying to stay out of sight, because at one point I turn around suddenly and watch him sprint back into some trees until eventually I go up a hill that has zero cover for him to use, and I lose track of him. I continue on to explore a different small town, making sure I'm always in public space and easily seen, but I never saw him again. Trust your gut. My head was telling me that there was no way that this could be happening to me, and I almost tested it by walking into the woods. But my gut screamed, bad idea, and I could not be more relieved I listened. Trust your gut.
Alright, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching.